What a season it has been for the NBA. A lot of ups and a lot of downs for a lot of different teams. But today, I truly want to focus on one team in particular, and that's the team in Atlanta. The Atlanta Hawks, man, their season has been very, very, very confusing to a lot of people. After a very, very good start to the season where they were as high as the 4th seed in the Eastern Conference, the Atlanta Hawks have fallen back down and now see themselves as the 8th seed. Over the last 10 games, they're only 4-6 with some brutal losses to teams like the Thunder and the Magic, and it's been real just tough to watch as of late. But what's been the real problem? Why are the Atlanta Hawks struggling so much? And to the naked eye, you can attribute that to injuries because it seems like everybody on that team has missed some games, from Trae Young to DeJounte Murray, John Collins to Clint Capella. A lot of their key pieces on this team have missed time. But to me, it's deeper than that. I understand that you have injuries, but most of these other teams have injuries as well. I mean, just looking at some of these games, I understand there was no Trae Young in this Memphis Grizzlies game, but you got 20 piece to a Grizzlies team without Ja Morant. I understand you have some injuries, but you shouldn't be losing to a Magic team that is obviously tanking. In a game against the New York Knicks, I mean, you only put up 89 points and you were healthy aside from John Collins, but I mean, still, John Collins hasn't even been that great this year. So it's more to it. It's obviously more to it. We all know this, but what is that more? And it starts with the coaching and the problems that leak into the locker room. Unless you guys have been living under a rock, you would know that Trae Young and Coach Nate McMillan have been butting heads for what seems like the entire season. In a practice, Coach Nate McMillan essentially went up to Trae Young and asked him if he could play, and Trae Young said he wasn't healthy enough to play, which in turn, Nate McMillan gave him an ultimatum: come off the bench and play, or don't play at all. Trae Young decided not to play at all, but goes deep into that because even though he was hurt, Trae Young still wasn't on the bench to root and cheer on his team, and that created another problem in itself. And from that point forward, things have seemed to simmer down, but we still don't know what it's like to be in that Hawks locker room. We still don't know what the relationship between Coach Nate McMillan and Trae Young is. And you got issues in the locker room. You have issues with on-court play. So who do you look at to blame? I mean, who do you look at fault? And for me, it kind of starts with Trae Young. Now, we all know Trae Young is this superstar point guard who is kind of put the Atlanta Hawks back on the map after their years of play from guys like Paul Millsap and Al Horford. They never truly had that superstar. Trae Young is that guy, but so far this season, he has had, you can say it's one of his worst seasons in NBA career because the efficiencies, the defense, everything has just been so bad. Trae Young is putting up 27 points and just about 10 assists per game, but he's shooting 40.9% from the field and 28.8% from three. The 28.8% he's shooting is easily the worst of his career, and that 40.9% that he's shooting is the worst of his career as well. And what makes it even worse is that because of how many shots he's taking, I mean, he's taking 21.2 shots per game. That's the highest in his career. That's a crazy amount of shots. It's harder to spread the ball around to get a more motion style offense, an offense that's more efficient, because Lord knows the offense that they got right now ain't looking too hot. And I mean, you traded for DeJounte Murray to bring in another ball handler to take some offensive pressure away from Trae Young, but that's not his game. Trae Young is not an off-ball player. He's not someone that can move off-ball and such. We all know him to be a player who's best with the ball in his hands. And so far, I mean, the two, statistically wise, I guess you could say are looking good, but it's not really equating to wins. It's not equating to strong team success, and that's the biggest issue. There's no reason Trae Young should be taking 21 shots a game. I mean, the Hawks as a team are taking 90, so it's basically a quarter of their shots coming from one player. That's crazy. And people always like to talk about how high shot takers don't always equate to wins. I mean, they made that case with Kobe Bryant. They made that case with Luka Doncic. And it's the same thing that we're seeing with Trae Young. And it's like, I get it. You know, right now, there's no DeJounte Murray. You're going to need another ball handler. But why not, you know, maybe groom someone to become that, to turn into that? Like a DeAndre Hunter, who you just paid $100 million to. Or AJ Griffin, who so far has looked really good in his rookie season. Bogdan Bogdanovic is back. And so far through 7 games, he's averaging nearly 20 points a game. You got options. You got a lot of options, but it's up to the team to find a safe point between Trae Young and the other supporting cast, and that's up to the coaching. And to touch on DeJounte Murray for a bit, the trade has looked well worth it and then some. He's continuing his all-star level play that he had last season. He's efficient. He's playing defense. He's scoring in the mid-range. He's looking like he's made a leap, at least in the offensive category. But what really grinds my gear with this Atlanta Hawks team is the reasoning as to why the younger guys just aren't getting more opportunities. Like I talked about, AJ Griffin has looked really good in his rookie year, but he's only getting 21 minutes a game. Onyeka Okongwu is only getting 21 minutes a game. You're giving 35 to Trae Young. You're giving 35 to DeJounte Murray. Bogdan Bogdanovic just came back from injury. He's already getting 30 minutes a game. John Collins, who has played trash this season, is getting 31.5 minutes per game. It just doesn't make sense. I feel like the minutes need to be more evenly distributed. And I get it for Trae Young and DeJounte Murray. I mean, those are your two lead guards. You want them playing the most, but as for everybody else, it should be equal opportunities. At the end of the day, it falls on Coach Nate McMillan. He has to be better at distributing his minutes. And if I was a coach, I like DeAndre Hunter at the 3, but I'd play more Jalen Johnson at the 4, honestly, over John Collins, because I don't like how John Collins fits on this new look Atlanta Hawks team. It made sense to have him as a lob threat alongside Trae Young for easy dump-off opportunities, but now that you got DeJounte Murray kind of taking more shots near the paint or in the mid-range and such, that forces John Collins to be more out on the three-point line as a catch-and-shoot guy, and it just doesn't work. So honestly, I would look to trade him, move on from him, maybe even give him a bench role, something new, because it's just not working anymore. AJ Griffin, keep doing what he's doing. Probably bump his minutes up just a little bit, because I mean, he's shown that he's very capable of being a 3-and-D guy, a guy I liked a lot in the draft, but he fell, of course, because of injury concerns. I like that the Hawks took a chance on him. He's going to be a great piece for them. Bogdan Bogdanovic is your heater off the bench. I mean, he's scorching hot right now, man. He's taking about 10 threes a game and he's shooting 43%. That's exactly the type of player you want. But the Hawks have to change something. I mean, it's clearly not working so far. Injuries, of course, are derailing their season, but it's more than that. Do I believe that the Hawks can turn this around? Yeah, I truly do, because there's so much talent on this team. There's so much shooting and defense, and okay, maybe not so much defense. There's so many scoring threats. There's such creative things that you can do on the offensive end that they're just not doing. But I'm confident that they'll be able to turn around. I'm confident that Nate McMillan will be able to see something in certain guys and give them more minutes and stuff like that. I'm confident that the Hawks can just in turn turn this entire season around and really be a threat come playoff time.